What's up, sisters? Welcome back to another episode of For My Sisters with Delle podcast. I know it has been a minute, but that's why we're here today with a life update slash testimony slash word. I'm just going to get us all the way together. And I say us because I need this reminder too. So it's going to be one of those episodes. Go ahead and get yourself a snack, get yourself something to drink because it's going to be very conversational. But before we dive into today's topic, I want to remind you to check the show notes and the description box down below. All the goodies are down there. Our amazing sponsors, which I want to highlight, the Durant Family Fulfillment Group. In today's episode, they are an organization that is a nonprofit. It's based in the United States, but most of their work is done in Guyana, South America. Big shout out to my mom for being the CEO of that organization. And they help underprivileged people in Guyana. They provide resources and opportunities for equality, equity, and just to make sure that especially the young adults, the youth, and the elderly are getting the resources and access to things that they need. So make sure that you check out the Durant Family Fulfillment Group.com, just Durant Family Fulfillment Group.com. Make sure you check them out. You can give donations to the cause. You can see the work that they're doing, and more things will be added to the website. So big shout out to them. Thank you for sponsoring For My Sisters with Delle podcast. Also, I'm calling all my single queens out there. Sis, it is time to level up your self-care game at our 2024 Kingdom Girls Getaway. If you are someone who is ready to slay, connect with like-minded women, and ignite personal growth in a space created for you, then this is for you. If you love to travel, this is for you. If you love meeting, like I said, like-minded women in an intimate, small to medium-sized group, you like trips that prioritize relaxation and experiences over a jam-packed schedule, tap in. We are having an info session really soon, and the link is going out to the waitlist first only. So you have to be on the waitlist to get first access to all of the details pertaining to this getaway. You'll be able to ask your questions live in person over the virtual, info session, and you'll also get first preference to register. Now, this trip is extremely limited in space. It is meant to be an intimate group, a luxurious experience. We're going to be staying in luxury accommodations, enjoying first class services and amenities. It's going to be amazing, y'all. So I need you to tap in. Even if you think you just might be interested, go ahead and click the link down below. You'll see it in the show notes or the description box. Add your information to the wait list so you don't miss out. We're already about a little over 50% full. We're like 55% full just from the wait list. So make sure that you get on the wait list and also share it with your girlfriends. Maybe if you're thinking, hey, my girl Jessica might want to travel or whatever. Like, if you know any single women, and by single I mean not engaged or married, that love to travel, they want to meet like-minded women, they want to be a part of our community, tap in. And it's only going to get bigger and better from here, but y'all join the wait list. Also, last but not least, I am running a sale on my website, Royalty and Righteousness. We are in the midst of planning a relaunch. So we're going to have more of a boutique feel coming up in the fall in time for the holidays. So make sure you grab your t-shirts. A lot of what you see on the site now will be discontinued. So grab a t-shirt. All shirts are $10 off, and the discount is taken at the checkout. So go to royaltyandrighteousness.com, grab yourself a t-shirt. Now, let me go ahead and tell you what I have been up to, okay? Like, your sis has been fighting for her life. You hear me? The last 3 weeks, as of this recording, have been a doozy. But when I tell you God has been all over this situation, I still don't know how a lot of things are going to work out. I'm literally taking it day by day. Like, God is literally my daily bread. It's like he's giving me just enough for today. Just like how he did the Israelites in the wilderness, where he's like, okay, here's your manna for today. This is just worry about today. Don't worry about tomorrow. If you didn't gather from yesterday, that's gone, it's spoiled. Don't worry about that. Like, just worry about today. That is what God is doing with me. So let me give you a backstory. And I hope you got your snacks. I hope you got your drink. Because I like to ramble. I go on tangents, but that's why y'all love me and you keep coming back. Okay. So needless to say, let's rewind back to July. So July 15th was my sister's birthday. And many of you who follow me on Instagram and Facebook, you saw the footage from that. Fun times. Make sure you hit me up on Instagram at official Rondell Martin to see footage from that and everything like that. fun times, a lot of fun times. And so we came back and I was like, okay, in August, I know my family and I are supposed to go back home to the DMV. Are my DC folks, DC, Maryland, Virginia, whoop, whoop. What's up, y'all? I will be coming, end of this month, Lord willing, and definitely in October for a meetup for Single and Saved. So tap in. And also go to singleandsavedinthecity.com, singleandsavedinthecity.com if you're a Christian single woman. But needless to say, I was like, I know my family and I are traveling in August. So, I'm working, getting my money up so I can have spending money because I like to take road trips up there because I have to hit so many spots. I know people in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So, I kind of have to hit the whole tri-state area as best as I can to see my people. And so I'm working, everything's cool. July 22nd comes around. Mind you, I had a date for this day. I'll spill the tea on that later because I got some gems even just about like my love life and everything and just about relationships in this time period as well. God has been speaking like across the board, And so I had a date plan. We were supposed to go to the water park. I was super excited, all that. So I get up early to do some rides because I'm like, one thing about me, I'm gonna get to my coins. I'm not gonna let the boys come in between me and my coins. Not yet. Not until, well, I don't think I would ever let someone get me off course, but it's different if you're actually like in something serious and you're building towards marriage. You have to kind of pivot sometimes and choose a different trajectory. But as of right now, no one's proven worthy for me to even be doing that. So I'm like, I'm gonna get to my coins and I'm gonna work and then have fun so I'm not stressing out. So I go out to Buckhead, and if you're not familiar with the Atlanta area, Buckhead is like one of the areas where the money resides. That's where all like the people with the fancy condos, fancy mansions, all that live at. And so I'm dropping off my second order, and something told me when I was coming to this order to park in the alleyway, because this area has a lot of high rises too. So it's not an area like garden style apartments where you could just pull in, park and visit, or park in and go in. You have to pull into a garage under the building or behind the building, attached to the building, whatever. And most times you'll find a garage will say like the first 15 minutes are free, first 10 minutes free, first 30 minutes free, whatever. But this particular building, it didn't say that. It was like off break, you got to pay $3. Like, we're not giving you no free time. And I was like, oh no, I'm not paying $3 just to drop off someone's breakfast. We're not doing that. So I not double parked. I put my hazards on and I parked in the alleyway next to the building. And so I run in, drop the food off at concierge, run back out. My car battery is dying, but I didn't know it at this point because it was turning on and just turning right back off. Like, boop, 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 boop. Like, that's what it was doing. So I was like, it can't be the battery because it wouldn't turn on at all if that was the case. So I'm trying. I'm like, maybe it's the spark plugs, maybe it's the starter. I'm Googling. Mind you, my phone's not fully charged because I was like, I'll charge it in a minute. It's no biggie. My car's fine. Long story short, my battery ends up dying. So I'm in this alleyway. Mind you, it's like 7:45 in the morning on a Saturday. No one's really out like that. I'm in an alleyway. People aren't really going to see you like that. And so finally, this guy with a Tesla comes and he pulls next to me, and his friend pulls up in a Hyundai, and they're just parked there. But I thought they were Uber Eats drivers because the way that they pulled up next to me, a lot of times drivers, if they see a driver already there or someone kind of like with their hazards on, they'll pull up like, okay, I'm safe. Let me run in real quick and do what I got to do and come back out. But they were just parked there. So I was just like, this is weird, So I'm texting people. I'm looking at my insurance. I'm like, let me see it, because I know I have roadside assistance, but let me see what's included in it. I'm trying to find like mobile mechanics. I'm texting a mobile mechanic I currently know through a friend, and I'm just like, I need some help. I'm talking to my mom. She's already just kind of like, what's going on, And so I talked to my mobile mechanic that I know currently, and he's like, see if one of the guys in the alleyway with you can give you a jump and then get to an AutoZone or a Advanced Auto, I think he said, or a Pep Boys, one of the two. No, I think it was Advanced Auto or AutoZone, and they will change your battery for free if you buy it there. So I was like, okay. So I go and ask the guy in the Tesla, I'm like, hey, can you give me a jump? And he's like, he doesn't have the cord, the jumper cable, but he has a work truck coming, and the work truck has a jumper cable box, like a jumper box in the truck. So he was like, they're like 20 minutes away. A whole almost 2 hours later, the truck pulls up, and I'm like, finally. Mind you, my battery is like on 17%. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like people are calling, they're texting, like, what's going on? Are you good? So finally the guy comes. I'm like, hey, can you give me the jump? The guy, he said you could do it because I think the guy that I talked to owned like this car detailing place that I was parked in front of and stuff, because he eventually opened the gate, went back there with like another friend that pulled up, and him and the two friends were back there like detailing their cars, washing their cars and stuff. And so he came out and he was like, yeah, give her a jump. I told her it's fine, because apparently the guy in the truck was his contractor, his employee. And so he gives me the jump. I'm like, praise God. So I go straight to AutoZone in my neighborhood, because I'm across town. I'm like 45 minutes from Buckhead. So I was like, let me get closer to my neighborhood, so if anything happens, at least I'm in the vicinity of home. It's going to be easier to get an Uber or get someone to pay for an Uber for me if need be, or whatever, you know? So I get to AutoZone. They're like, your battery is completely dead. And so they're like, it's going to cost about $300 to change it. I'm like, yikes, that's expensive. You know, I'm like, you don't have a refurbished battery here, like something, I don't know, like, how does this stuff work? And they're like, nah, we don't have that. I was like, you don't have any discounts, nothing? So they were like, nah. So I'm outside. It's hot. It's very hot. Georgia has been hellishly hot lately. Like, just heat. Like, if you're not saved, you will want to get saved, because you're like, if this is what hell feels like, I need to find the Lord. Like, I need to give my life to Christ, because eternity like this is a no-go, you know? So it's just one of those things. And I was just like outside sweating my booty off, you know, trying to find discounts, trying to find money. I only had a portion of it. So I'm texting people. I'm calling like, hey, anything you can spare, this, at the third. So this is all working out for my good, right? Because along the way, God is sending little reminders. So I finally get the money up. I go in the store and I'm just like, I need to get the battery. And I noticed that the key fob for my car was starting to die. Like, it was taking longer to open the car. And one of them was completely dead. And to lock the car, it was taking longer too. And so I'm like, I want to get this and I got to get the battery, but I'm a little short. So she gave me a discount. The lady at the cashier gave me a discount. She was like, I felt so bad because you were out there for like over an hour just trying to get this money together, and you're hot and you're tired and just all these things that I could see it in your face. I had mad bags under my eyes, you know? So she gave me her, I guess, like associate discount. And I was like, thank you, God, you know? So they come in, they change the battery, they change the key fob battery for me. Everything's good. So I'm on the phone with my sis and we're like, God is good. Praise God. Everything's great. So at this point, I'm feeling great. I'm like, let me go to Bojangles, period. Get myself some bow rounds, you know, a little breakfast. And the Bojangles by my house, there's this big strip called Hiram Pavilion. And it's like about 5 miles from the top end, which is not really the pavilion anymore, but there's restaurants and stuff there too, all the way to the bottom end when you get to the next town, which is like Powder Springs. And it's just like a movie theater, restaurants, shops, stores, boutiques, Walmart, like whatever you name it, you know? And so I go to the Bojangles there, and the Bojangles by me is next to a racetrack where you could like cut across the road, go through the racetrack parking lot, and then you could turn out in the strip from the parking lot between like a Pep Boys, or there's a Pep Boys right here, and there's a Del Taco here, and the road is in between, and you could turn out back onto that main road. It's like a 6-lane highway called Jimmy Lee Smith Parkway. And so I got my bow rounds, you know, got my biscuit. I'm good. I'm like, life is great. Got my new battery. We about to get to this money real quick before my date, period, you know. And so I come out. I turn out from the Bojangles, cross over behind the racetrack to turn out between the Pep Boys and Del Taco because the line was too long and people don't be letting you through and stuff. And so right when I'm about to make a right turn, I look over to my left and I see that the light at the 4-way traffic light had just changed and people were turning. So I was like, you know what? Let me wait. Because I was kind of, you know how you kind of creep up and you kind of got your foot on the gas and you're like, let me stop. Let me wait. I was doing one of those, you know? And so right when I go to slow down and stop, boom, the back of my car is just hit in my car. Next thing you know, I'm pushed into the middle of the road. And there's like a 3-lane road, like 3.5 lane, because one is a turning lane. And usually cars are flying down this road. Like literally they're like, phew, 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 you know. But thankfully, because the light had just changed, they were going at a speed where they could stop. Because otherwise I would have been tragic. I would have got pushed into the road and it would have just been like, boom, 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 just back to back, you know. And so, thankfully, they stopped and it got quiet for like 5 seconds. Like, I swear to you, the whole road got quiet. Like, everybody was just like, you know, so I get my car out. I like reverse it back and just to neutral, reverse it back into the strip between the Del Taco and the Pep Boy. So I hop out. I'm looking for the car that hit me. I'm like, I know this sucker did not just leave. He had actually turned into the Del Taco parking lot. He came out. He's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? My head is hurting. My chest is hurting. My thighs are hurting. Everything's hurting. My back, everything. Because there's like some steam coming off of my car. Like the airbags wanted to deploy, but they didn't. And so I'm just like, yo, like what's going on? You know? And so I'm confused. I'm like, this cannot be life. Like I just had this battery fiasco. Now here I am getting rear-ended. And mind you, 2 years ago, I got T-boned in a very bad accident that I should not be sitting here alive today. So this is just the providence of God, y'all. Like God has had his hand on me. The enemy has been trying to take me out for years. I've got stories, y'all. I've got stories. And it's like every time what the devil meant for evil, God turns it around for my good. Like when you really stop and think about it, even in the inconveniences, even in all these things, it's like God is so gracious. Even in the minute details, like the traffic light just changing and the cars not coming down the road as fast as they normally do. I could be not sitting here right now. Like, let's just keep it a buck. I shouldn't be. If they were coming at that speed that they usually come at, I should not be here. And I should not be, even if I was, I should not be here in basically perfect form. I mean, I got some minor injuries, but I'm going twice a week to therapy for that, but we'll get to that. So needless to say, he comes out, he's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? You want me to call 911 or you want to call 911? I'm like, I'll call, because I want to make sure the call gets made and, everything's reported right. And so there's apparently a fugitive loose in the next town over. So all the police are like running over there, like, oh, we got to find the fugitive. So we were outside in the heat. At this point, it's like high noon. So it's hot. Like the sun is beating on us. I got my curly hair out. I'm wearing all black because I was just expecting to just go out, get my money and come back. So at this point, I got to be honest, your girl was a little musty. I'm just going to be honest. Like it was a rough morning. Okay. My Bowberry biscuit and my bow rounds and everything are all in my sweet tea in the car, my car. It's like it didn't have much damage. It had some dents in the fender or whatever, but his car was worse because my car is bigger than his, and so his car was bad. His car was real bad, his front fender. But mine, it was like, honestly, even if I didn't get the collision repair, I could have made it work if it was drivable, but the impact of the car stopped it from working. And so long story short, I'm saying long story short, and I'm going to say that a couple times in this podcast, but it's not a long story short. So don't think it's going to speed up because it's probably not going to. It's just a habit of mine. Long story short, 15, 16 minutes in, it's not a long story short anymore, But needless to say, the police come. The guy that hit me didn't even have his license on him. But the police don't give a ticket because they're like, well, technically this is private property since it happened between the Del Taco and the Pep Boys, so I can't give a ticket. So I'm bewildered. I'm hoodwinked. I'm just like, wow, like I thought this was pretty cut and dry, So I'm like, justice has to be served in some way, some way, shape, or form because I need my car fixed. So we all hop in our cars. He gives us the driver exchange information. We hop in our cars to go about our prospective businesses, and my car won't start. And so I hop out immediately and I'm waving. And I think the cop and the guy that hit me thought I was waving goodbye. And I'm like, no, I need help. Like, help. So thankfully they were kind enough to come back out. The guy that hit me was like, oh, I work at Chrysler, let me call some of my friends and see what the problem is. So they say shift the car in neutral. They push me out of the road because now I'm blocking the turning lane. And they're fiddling with it. The cop is like, I gotta go. We got all these calls. I'm like, that's fine. it's cool. So the guy, his girlfriend comes and he's trying to give me a jump. He's like, maybe it's the battery. I'm like, it's not the battery. Just got a new one literally 2 hours ago. And he was like, oh man, you've had a rough day. I'm like, to say the least. Rough don't even describe the day that I'm having right now. Like, it's just one of those days like, is this really my life right now? And so after about 20 minutes in the heat, fiddling with the car, he's like, I don't really know, but I could push you to the Pep Boys parking lot so you don't get towed. So I was like, okay. So I get to the Pep Boys parking lot, which is right across the way, like literally right there. And I just have a breakdown in my car for like 3 minutes. And I'm just like, I don't know what is going on. Like, I'm just so tired, because I feel like I'm taking 2 steps forward or 4 steps back. And for my people out there that feel like life is beating you up, you feel like you never get anything the easy way, like you always have to go through something to get something. I just want to remind you and encourage you that God has not forgotten about you. A lot of times when you hear people talking, they're like, oh, if you're having resistance, that means that you're not in God's will or God's mad at you or this. Like, no, it's not. We think we have God all figured out. And that's the problem. We don't. God is infinite, all knowing. He's above, outside of time. Like he's, we can't even fathom that he is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, the Lord of, like, when our human brains can't even comprehend that. So for us to think that we can put him in a box and be like, everybody who's going through struggles, whenever they're going through something, it's because of these 3 reasons. Like, yeah, those 3 reasons can be a reason, but I don't want you to think like God is smiting you or he's cursing you or whatever, because take it from me, I never get anything easily. Never. Okay. Like everything that I have It is a fight. Okay. And not just in the physical, in the spiritual, it is a fight. And all I can remember is that God has his hand on me and that this earth is not our home. We're just passing through. Some of us are going to have to fight that good fight more than others. And some of us, our lives are going to be marked by a lot of trials. Like even the Bible tells us that in the book of Hebrews, like there's going to be people that have trials, and there's going to be people that we're all going to have trials, but there's going to be some people that maybe don't have it as hard as others, and then some of us, it seems like everything we got is a fight. You got to fight for everything. Like it just seems like you can't catch a break. But just know that God has his hand on you, and trials build character, and hard times build endurance, and from your endurance being built, your character is being built. And then from there, you're able to encourage others with the same encouragement God gave you in that time of your trouble. This is all scripture, y'all. It's not verbatim, but it's it's all scripture. And so needless to say, after I have that breakdown, and I'm just like, God, like I just seem like I can't catch a break. I'm like, you know what? You have your hand on this. So all I can do in this moment is trust you. So what do I need to do? Like, what's the next step? So I gather myself, get myself together, and I'm like, at this point, I got to go home, because I didn't want to go straight to the hospital from the accident scene. Because in 2021, I went straight to the hospital in the ambulance, and then my car got towed, and it was a whole thing. I ended up, owing a lot to the lot that had that car, even though it was very crumpled up and a total loss. But it was just a lot, unnecessary money. So I was like, I want to make sure that I'm with my car, and I wasn't injured so bad that I couldn't wait. But I did go to the hospital that night. So I called one of my friends, and he took me to the hospital. He came out from work and took me to the hospital and everything that night. The guy that I was supposed to go on a date with completely ghosted me pretty much. Granted, he was going through stuff in his own family and stuff like that. But again, that's another story for another day. So long story short, with that side of the story, didn't go on the date. Didn't hear from him after a certain time of the afternoon, and that was it. He had said he was going to come, but he basically ended up ghosting me. So that was that. My friend, who was a guy that I was dating at one point too, came and took me. I know y'all like, how many dudes you dating? But listen, listen, okay, your girl has a lot of dating experience. That's why I be speaking what I know and not what I heard in Single and Saved in the City, okay? But he came and took me to the hospital. I went to the ER. I made sure, I was cleaned up and everything, because the ER is never quick unless you're literally like gushing blood or something like that. And so I was there all night, pretty much like about the 12 to 13 hours ish or something like that. So it was a long time. Long story short, they were just like, see, there I go again, talking about long story short. They took some scans. They didn't find anything broken, anything sprained. And so they were like, you're, free to go home. Here's some pain medicine, but follow up with your doctor. So I was still feeling pain. I called an attorney, and they were like, we could take up your case, So all of this is like, okay, well, I know at the end of it all, I'm going to get compensated for this. In the meantime, I'm losing income, but I know that there's compensation coming, and they were very straightforward. They were very honest. They had good reviews. So I felt very comfortable, So I'm slowly but surely seeing God's hand in this. I also had called the guy who hit me, his insurance, and he has really good insurance with USAA. Shameless plug, even though I'm not with them, but y'all sponsor me. But they covered the rental car. It was no problem. They were ready to compensate me right then and there if I didn't say I had an attorney, but they were like, okay, we got to talk to your attorney about everything. So I got a rental pretty much almost immediately. Like, I want to say maybe 3 days after the accident, 3 or 4 days. So the accident happened on a Saturday. I think by that Tuesday or Wednesday, I was picking up a rental car. I can't remember exactly, but I had a rental car. And so I was able to get some work done. But like I said, because of the nature of the gig work I do and different things that I have my hands in, I couldn't do everything, because some things I needed my car to do. So I did lose a good chunk of money, but I was able to make something, and then God put me on people's hearts. People sent Venmos, PayPals, Cash Apps, some people sent it more than once. Other people were like, let me know if there's anything I could do to help. They were willing to help give rides if needed, to give grocery money if needed, so God really was working it out, where even though it was a stressful situation, a discouraging situation, it's like he showed me that people do want to help too. So that's another thing, another reminder, because I can really have a lot of pride when it comes to asking for help. I'm just used to kind of finding a way to get it done and just relying on God. And honestly, I'm kind of used to being let down a lot too, from the past, like, many, many years ago. But those remnants stick with you. And so a lot of times I'm like, I don't even want to ask for help because I don't want to be a burden. I don't want people to be like, oh, here she go again, asking for help. Like, I've had friends, quote unquote friends, from back in the day be like, oh, you always need something, this, that, the third. And so you start to feel like, I don't even want to ask. Because in one breath, people be like, oh yeah, never be ashamed to ask for help. But then when you ask for help, now you're a needy friend. You ain't nothing. They call you everything but a child of God. So it's just like you don't even want to open your mouth and ask, because I think we forget that it's not easy for people to ask for help. It takes a lot for you to be vulnerable and say, this is what I'm going through. This is where I'm at right now, and I need your assistance. It puts you in a place of vulnerability. It opens you up a lot of your private business to people. And a lot of us are very, very private. We grew up with like, keep your business to yourself. What happens in this house stays in this house. A lot of us grew up with those kind of mindsets. And so it's not easy to be vulnerable and say, I actually am having money issues, or I actually do need someone to come to my house and help me run errands, or I do need help with, child rearing, or, it's not easy to humble ourselves and say that. And so I think we all should remember that too, like, to have a little grace when you're dealing with people in those situations, and don't just like jump down their throat or automatically be like, oh, well, how did you get here? And da-da-da-da. And, like, let's be a little mindful, because chances are before that person opened their mouth to ask you, they really were hemming and hawing about it. And like, I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should. Most times people are coming to you in a state of desperation because they tried everything else. Most times. That's not all the time, but most times, in my experience and my observations and in my own life, I could say that is fact, whether it's in my life or people that I know. And so, needless to say, God was showing me, like I said, that he had his hands on me. And so I apologize if you hear my son in the background, because he's just very loud and I really don't feel like starting this podcast over. So, that's motherhood. But needless to say, I get the rental car, I'm working and everything like that. And for those of you who know me well enough, you know that I do Uber Eats. And so Uber is where I make, when it comes to gig work and things like, Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, things like that. Uber is where I make most of my money. Like, that's where I make like a full-time salary. If you look at what I make from Uber every single year, like what some people make working in an office, I make working Uber Eats, And so I wasn't able to do that because I didn't have my car. And the way Uber Eats is set up, you have to do it with your car, And so I was hurt. Like, I was sick to my stomach because I am in Grubhub, but it's not as plentiful. The orders pay good, but it's not as busy, So you have a lot of downtime. Like, there'll be times I'm sitting with no orders coming through for 2-3 hours, just sitting around like, dang, like, when am I going to get an order? Like, a lot of merchants don't have it. And so, I felt for a while, mind you, since I would say last year, that God was ushering me out of Uber Eats. And this is another lesson too. I hope y'all are picking up what I'm putting down along the way. And I apologize if I sound all over the place. But I felt it in my spirit since last year, and I ignored it because the money was good. I make my own schedule. I work where I want, how I want, when I want, like, it's really the best of both worlds. I ain't got to answer to nobody. I choose how much I make. And because I have a strategy behind it, I make good money. But my disobedience cost me. And the crazy part is, as soon as the accident happened and like I gathered myself after that Pep Boys meltdown, I was like, my disobedience cost me, God. I was like, disobedience is costly. When God is putting something in our spirit and we keep ignoring it, we keep suppressing it, you will deal with the consequences at some point. But God is such a gracious God and such a loving God and merciful God that even in his chastisement, we still reap benefits. We still see his providence and his blessing. We still see where he loves us and he's at work, And so I immediately remembered that moment. It's so crazy how God will bring that to your memory as well. Like, you know what? You haven't put this in my spirit. And so that was also able to help me to be more comforted in that moment too, because I knew that even though it seemed like a loss, because now I'm losing this money, I don't have my car, there's certain things I can't really move and shake and do the way I want to do. It's like God is shifting me. He's positioning me to where he wants me to be. It put me in a state where I have no choice but to trust God. Like, there is no backup plan here. I don't have a job in the wings. I don't have have a project coming up that's just in time. Like it literally was like I said in the beginning of the episode, my daily bread. Here's your manna for today. Like God will supply just enough for today. You need to make a payment on that car insurance. Here's just enough for today. You need to get some groceries. Here's just enough for today. You need to get some gas in your car. Here's just enough for today. Like not enough for me to just wild out and go off course. It's like, you got to keep relying on me on this one, like, and we should be relying on him, period. But when you have excess, it's easy to think that it's in your might. When you're getting a lot of money in your job income, or your business is thriving or whatever, it's easy to not seek God's face as much, because you get used to, I know I'm making 5-6 figure months. I don't really have to seek God as much. Like, I know that money's coming, so it's easy to kind of lean into your human logic more than you seek God and depend on him, if that makes sense. Hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down, like I said. And so, I'm going through the process and stuff. And even still, I'm trying to find loopholes to work Uber Eats. I'm like, well, maybe if I do this, or maybe if I sneak in the rental late at night and I do, like, I'm just being real with y'all. I'm being real, because if it's one thing that hard times breed, is ingenuity. Okay. And sometimes I'm not always on the up and up. I'm just going to keep it real with y'all. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm just Miss Holy Saint and I'm always doing what's right. I'm definitely not. Like, I definitely will find a loophole if need be and be like, okay, God, like, just protect me or whatever. Like, I never take it too far, but, I might dip a toe in the water here or there. And I'm just like, guys, I need to pay my bills. Like, like, I'm on grace with some of these bills. Like, they're giving me payment arrangements and stuff, and I don't want to mess it up, because then it's hard to get them to work with you in the future. And it's so crazy, y'all. Like, I didn't even make a payment arrangement for my car insurance, but when I went in, it's like, the way that God worked it out, it's like it almost skipped a month, and like it would just continue going until the next pay term. And so it's like I wasn't even racking up late fees. I wasn't worrying about my car insurance being cut off or anything like that. And I'm just like, God, you are sovereign here. Like, the way you are literally holding this and pausing this situation and reversing this and moving this forward, and like you're literally shifting every step to where it makes sense, to where it's like I have a whole debt canceled. I have a whole payment arrangement in place that they don't even know about it. No one at my car insurance company can say, oh yeah, I talked to her and we, enacted and started this payment arrangement on such and such a date. It literally is like God just taking over the systems and working it out in my favor, to where debts are canceled, bills are paid, things are working in my favor, just enough delay to get things done, just enough hold up to make a move, and for things to come through. Like, God would delay the payment from coming through, and then someone would cash at me exactly what I need, and then boom, there it goes. Y'all, even to the point where I was checking my mail a couple of days after the car accident, because my sister had the habit of coming in and putting the mail like down on the kitchen counter. We have like a little cubby counter area next to the fridge, and so she'll just put it down there, or like by the shoe rack in the mudroom area, and then just leave it, And for me, because I come in late a lot of nights, I ain't going through no mail at, midnight, 1 a.m. I'm tired, So I'll go through it like once or twice a week. And so something told me, just go through the mail, because I'm a minimalist. I don't like mail piled up. I don't like a bunch of paperwork. I like my home to be light, airy, things to be organized in a particular pattern. Like, I'm very particular, y'all. I'm very like OCD when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm like, it has to be this way. Like, my house got to be in order, clean, smelling good. Like, I don't play that, period, And so I'm going through the mail. I open up this envelope and I'm like, remediation? What is this? Why did Wells Fargo send me a check from an old bank account that was exactly what I needed to pay a bill? Like, a hefty amount to pay. I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, this is so crazy. And that check was mailed out since May. It was in that corner since May. I did not see it. It is so crazy, y'all. Even another like issue that I had with an old debt in Virginia that I didn't know about, it literally got held up until like recently. And that was out, like the I guess collection or whatever was out since May. I did not know about that until literally last week. And when I called the place, it works out to where, again, like, it's basically a debt that's canceled. Like, the way that it's structured, by the time it's all said and done, I'm going to get to keep most of my money. Like, so it's just like God is working it out to where it's like, these people could have been taking stuff, bills could have been in calamity and all that, but God literally held it up, made sure I got money from past debts, money that was owed to me from the past that I forgot about, just in time for, with this accident. And it's crazy how it all worked out. But needless to say, you know, I'm remembering that, and I'm in this space where I'm just trusting God and everything. So I'm working, going out, doing my Grubhub every day. It's kind of hitting, it's kind of not. Some days are better than others. And then next, I'm starting to get clients, because if you don't know, I actually do creative consulting. So some of the biggest brands that you see, like up and coming brands in the creative space. So like the Real Edie Marie, I helped build her brand. Symphony Music Group helped build their brand. And what it is with my creative consulting is like I literally sit with you and listen to what you're trying to do, whether it's building up a YouTube channel, building up a personal brand, starting an actual business, or whatever it is. And I take your gifts and what you're telling me, and I literally give you like a business plan, basically like, okay, well, based on what you're telling me, this will be best for you. And then I walk you through that. Maybe it's you want to start a t-shirt boutique online or whatever. And I walk you through that to a certain point of where your like foundation is started and you're able to now run with it. And if you want further assistance, you can seek more gurus in specific areas. But I basically help you build the foundation and start your side income or your side business or your full-time business, And so I hadn't advertised it since 2021 because I was doing it heavy in 2020 and 2021. And then after the accident, it's like God was like shifting me out of that. And I just didn't have the bandwidth. Honestly, I just wasn't in the headspace to really pour into people because I'm flowing. Like I pray over my clients, we're flowing. I'm hearing what you say. And I'm like, this will be good. A good direction for you to go in. But all of a sudden, people are emailing me like, I want to do XYZ, or I was thinking about this, that, or the third. Can you help me with that? And I'm just like, this is so crazy. Like God is sending me clients, and I'm not even advertising this thing. People, I don't even have a website up for it or nothing. Currently, I have a calendar, but not like, I have a price list and stuff. But people are literally coming to me like, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you? It's listen. God will set you up. Like He will set your feet where they need to be. He will put you in the path you need to go in if you surrender. Because I'm still low key at this point trying to find ways around the Uber Eats thing. Because like I said, it's a full-time salary and I'm missing out on that. And I'm just like, dang God, but this is that easy, quick money. Like I could get it right now. I see what you're doing over here, but what about this? And God is like, if you don't sit down somewhere and let me lead you where I want you to go, like I don't want you to do that. Because like I said, even when I tried to find loopholes, it didn't make sense for me to go in the loophole because I still can't really do Uber comfortably. Like I'm gonna be ducking and dodging and hiding and I don't want you to see my car, stuff like that, putting myself at risk. And God is like, you don't need that. Like, yes, it's it's a guarantee that you're used to now. It's good money. Yes, you can control how much you make and stuff and how you work and all that. But I'm shifting you to new. And it's so crazy too, because last year I said I want to be a full-time entrepreneur this year. And I see how God is positioning me for that. Even with planning, the stuff that I do with Single and Saved in the City, positioning me to get opportunities there that would allow me to get some pay, in the future. The creative consulting, the t-shirts, even, just donations that I get in my business. People like, I just want to sew into you. Like, it's ridiculous how God has been moving. And I am just baffled, and that is something that I want to encourage you with too. Maybe you're holding on to something that you need to let go of. And also I'll say this, during this time, I also let go of a relationship with a guy that, and I wouldn't say we were in like a serious relationship, but we were dating on and off for like the last almost 2 years. But something happened during this time that finally had me say to myself, you know what, I'm done. Like this is the last straw. I just can't anymore. Like I can't continue on in this pattern. I want more. I deserve more. And I just don't think that he's capable of it. And if he is, well, he needs to find the Lord. He needs to, rededicate himself to that. And he needs to really come correct. But I'm not waiting anymore. And I'm okay with goodbye at this point. And when I let that go, as well as let go of things having to go the way that I had planned, it's like the floodgates started opening. The floodgates started opening. Things started coming together, like that heavenly downloads. Like I'm literally in areas of my business that I felt stuck in for the last almost year, where I felt like I wasn't getting any new ideas. It was just kind of stagnant. Like, I don't know. Now it's like I'm in the shower, boom, idea. In the car, boom, an idea. I'm cooking dinner, boom, an idea. And stuff just starts coming and coming and coming. And it's just like, wow, like, God, I see you moving. Like, I see you. I hear you. Like, if I was not disobedient, and that's not to say that, I'm not saying that my disobedience is what caused a car accident, but I'm just saying, like, disobedience is costly because I wasted a lot of time doing what God did not want me to do anymore because it was easy money with Uber. It's predictable in the sense of I know that I could go out and if I work such and such neighborhood, I can make so much money. It gives me control instead of putting the autonomy back in God's hands and relying on him. I could say, oh, I could do this, I could do that. Like, yeah, I trust God, but I'm relying on my human strength, like I said. And so God would allow things to happen to get your attention. Like he would not send, but he would allow certain storms to come in your life to get your attention. He would allow certain things to happen to get your attention. It's kind of like how the Lord allowed the devil to torment Job, and there was a lesson in that at the end of the day. Like it showed Job's faithfulness. It showed that, he was still believing in God. And so, and it pruned him. And that is how this situation resonated with me. It's like, okay, God, like, even though you definitely protect me in this accident, you allowed it to happen to get my attention because now I have no choice but to be more still. All those times I'm in the car sitting, waiting to do Grubhub and it's not popping the way that I wanted to, I have no choice but to sit and actually like talk to you and, just praise you and go deep in prayer and in worship and all of those things. And so I just want to encourage you that if you're holding on to something or someone, sometimes that's the very thing that's keeping the flow stagnant. You're holding on to that relationship. You really want it to work. You've prayed, you fasted, you feel like, okay, yeah, I'm seeing some changes, I'm seeing some growth. Maybe it's just me. Maybe, maybe I'm the drama, but you just don't have a peace about it. Low key, you're settling. Let it go. If you are holding on to that job or that self-employment or business and that it's like not serving you anymore, it's becoming an idol where you worship the money that you make in that, and you might be like, oh no, I would never have an idol, I would never make that an idol, but you are more reliant on your job being your provider than God being your provider. You idolize the money you make and it makes you arrogant, low-key, or you feel like you're invincible because it's like, oh, I'm making all this money, I'm good, like nothing can harm me. It's all up to you and your strength and your logic. I wouldn't say let it go now. Don't be like, oh, Rondell said to quit my job, so I'm letting it go now. Hold on now. Let's think about this. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I will say, take a step back, reposition yourself and ask God, is this really your will for me? I used to make, like when I was 25, 26, I was making good money, well in the six figures, okay, had the life, but I was depressed. I had no peace. I knew that was not what God had for me. Now, even though I'm not making all that I was making back then, I'm well on my way and I'm in purpose. I get so much fulfillment from planning these events, planning these getaways, from my clothing store, even though, like I said, I've kind of been abandoning it the last few months with everything, but I'm a one-woman show. I can only do it so much, but I get joy in the designs and just thinking about the photo shoots and all the different things. Like everything that I'm doing now, it's aligned. I know this is what God created me to do. The impact that I'm able to make, the women I'm able to meet, the things I'm able to do, the gospel that I'm able to share, the way that I'm able to be a vessel of God. Like, I love it here. I love this for me, So even though, yeah, I took a pay cut in money, it has built my endurance. It has built my character. It has given me so many experiences that now I can turn back and pour into other people that are going through something similar as me. But I had to learn to let things go. I had to learn to move past what my eyes see. And this situation reminded me because the things that I said I wasn't going to do, I was starting to do. My prayer and devotional time was getting compromised because now I'm ripping and running. I'm doing all this stuff with my car, and sometimes it's not bad stuff. It's good stuff, but it's taking your focus away from sitting in the presence of God. Sometimes we're so busy doing all the things, we can't even really enjoy the presence of God. You can't even hear from God because you're so busy. You're so busy. You got so much going on. Like, how God is talking to you and you like, okay, God, give me a minute. Like, like slow down, take some things off your list. Do you have to do that in this season? Like, really ask yourself, do I have to do this right now? Or can this wait till next year? We don't have to do it all. Sometimes we idolize like being booked and busy and sometimes you just have to. Like in this season of my life, pretty much at this point, everything I'm doing, I have to do. And it's just a lot that falls on me, with my life circumstances, my family structure and such. But I'm very intentional about knowing when it's time to stop. So if you are holding on to something or you are placing something in the throne, a seat of God where God should be, reevaluate, because that is what this accident has taught me. That's something else I should say. This accident has taught me. It's like, you're doing too much. And I told you, this is God talking to me. I told you since last year, I want you to shift out of Uber. I have more for you. You said you want to be a full-time entrepreneur, but you're still chasing the easy money because it's safe, it's predictable. Going to full-time entrepreneurship requires you to have more faith, requires you to be more disciplined, requires you to trust me more and trust in the unknown, because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, you could plan, you could strategize, you could do all those things, but you don't know how certain things are going to work. And it requires humility, because, a lot of times in entrepreneurship, we make everything look like rainbows and butterflies, laptop lifestyle, I'm winning 10K months, all this stuff. But nobody talks about the fact that a lot of times for the first few months, maybe even years, you're losing money. You're planning events and you're losing money. You plan meetups and nobody shows up. I did a vlog about that on my YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, you might have seen it. I planned a meetup in May. Nobody showed up. I had 37 people RSVP. Not one soul showed up. And only 2 people told me why they can't show up. The other 35, no call, no show. Just completely ghost. So people don't show that side. They don't show how it hurts your feelings, because you're pouring your blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. You have a vision, and God told you it's going to be successful. Like, you got a word from God. It was confirmed through other people, vessels of God. You know how many prophetic words I've had that have aligned? These people don't know each other from a can of paint. God has told me the same thing. And it's just like, okay, God, when's the breakthrough coming? Because you done gave me all these words. I see the end in sight. I literally can close my eyes and see where the end of I don't want to say the end, but like the end goal of my business is going to be. I see myself standing on stages and talking to thousands of women. I see myself being a blessing and a vessel to thousands of women, be able to pay their rent for 6 months or a year, able to buy cars for people that need it, able to give groceries, scholarships, the whole nine, where I give opportunities to other women entrepreneurs in Christ, to come and speak at conferences, to come and, do something at the getaways, and so much more, to have a transitional home for people that are in between being able to survive and homelessness. I've been homeless twice. I know how that feels. I see this. I literally see it. I feel it in my spirit and my soul, but I'm going through hell and back right now. And it's just like, God, why? Like, why would you have me do, like, why? Why would you shift me into all of this stuff? And God is like, because I called you to it, and you have the grace to handle. You have the strength to handle what you're going through, because I know that you will go through it and still give me the glory. I know that you will go through it and still sing my praises. I know you will go through it and be a faithful servant, still sowing, still pouring into other people, even though you are crying after you're done. Nobody talks about that. And entrepreneurship takes a lot. Many days I come online and I just don't even want to get out of bed. I probably just finished crying, but I'm coming on a live stream encouraging people because it brings me joy. So for those of you out there, like, I did a podcast a little while ago, you're still on God's strongest soldiers list. If you're still on God's strongest soldiers list, just know you're in good company. I'm low-key still on it too. I got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I'm almost off, but I'm still on it low-key. And it can be frustrating. You can feel forgotten. You can feel like, what's the point of me even continuing on? Maybe I should just give up my hopes and my dreams, but don't give up. And maybe I'll do a podcast episode on when it is time to give it up, when you can tell that God shifted you. But I will say one thing that I've seen in my life too, and I've told my clients in the past. One way that I truly believe to know that God wants you to go in a certain direction is when you see the waters flowing. When the rivers are drying up, when you're experiencing drought, when you're experiencing obstacle after obstacle, dead end after dead end, a desert, a wilderness, God is like, move from here. It's time to move from this land and go to another land. Okay. So when you see that something is flowing, like prime example, how I said Uber's dried up, right? It's roadblock after roadblock, obstacle after obstacle. But my clients, my creative consulting is opening up. The rivers are starting to flow. People are coming to me and I'm not even promoting it. That is a clear-cut sign that God has something for me there in this season. So I need to pick that back up. I need to look at that. And only God could tell you directly. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I hear the Lord saying you got to do this or that, like, because I don't want to be playing in y'all's face or in y'all ears if you just listen to this. But seek his face. If you notice, like, there's an area in your life that's really flowing and it's really going and it's just rolling, and okay, pray and ask God, like, okay, God, what are you trying to do here? Like, what should I do in this area? So, long story short, again, y'all, I told you it's a habit. It's happened? Because we are 48 minutes in and I'm talking about some long story short. The story was not short, sis. But needless to say, I hope that you guys got something from this. I'm still in the thick of all of this, so we're just gonna see how it works out. We're gonna see how it works out. I'll probably do a part 2 to this testimony and share what more God shared with me or showed me. But I hope you got something from this. And I'm sorry for being long-winded and if it's all over the place, but there's a lot of things God's revealing to me in this process. And I do want to say one last thing. There is a shift happening for the people of God. And I know this is the case because that word has been in my spirit for weeks, even before the accident happened. And I keep seeing that word online. I keep hearing it in TikToks and in YouTube shorts and Instagram reels and stuff. Shift, shift, shift. So if you feel like the waters are troubled, you feel like it's a lot going on, you feel like you can't tell whether you're coming or going, there's a shift happening. God is shifting us. He's moving out those old relationships, those old opportunities, those old things that were keeping you stagnant. You're holding on to it. You want to go back to Egypt, like the Israelites. You want to go back to Egypt. You're imagining the leeks and the fish, even though you were in bondage in Egypt. Egypt had you stuck. Egypt had you broke, busted, and disgusted. But you were imagining Egypt. God is like, I know you're in the wilderness right now, but if you keep going and if you let me lead you, you'll get to the promised land. But if you're stubborn and you keep holding on, you're going to deal with some things you don't have to deal with. Everything you don't have to deal with, y'all. And everything is not the devil. Sometimes it's our own lack of discernment. It's our own lack of obedience. It's our own lack of judgment that has us going through those things, So I do want to tell you that too. Maybe you're like, my life is all over the place. It's a shift. Embrace it. Relinquish and surrender. Literally throw your hands up and be like, God, you got it. Like I had to do that with Uber. Like, God, I'm done. You got it. You lead the way and he's opening doors. It's scary though. Trust me, it's scary. Like I feel so wide open and vulnerable, but God is showing his comfort to me every single day. He's showing that he has not forgotten me. He has his best interest in heart and mind for me every single day. So just relinquish and trust him. You're in good hands. He's the God of the universe. He knows it all. He knows your beginning from your end. So you can't go wrong. So that's it, sis. I hope, like I said, you got something from this. Check the description box down below, the show notes. Don't forget to check out the poll if you're on Spotify and share this with somebody and subscribe to the podcast or the YouTube channel. I will see you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of For My Sisters with Delle podcast. Don't forget to keep the conversation going and use the hashtag For My Sisters Pod on social media so I can see you and show you some love. If there are any topics you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, be sure to email formysisterspodcast@gmail.com. I'll see you on the next episode. Love you. Bye.